All right, for the recording, good morning. We are studying the Heart Sutra. We are on class 6 or 7. 6. Anyway, January 24th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind to someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep in our hearts, we know this is possible. Understanding a little bit about karma and emptiness, we can glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And even into an intention and maybe even all the way into a determination. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. Now, once again, listen to the Heart Sutra. Lady of Conquest, the heart of the perfection of wisdom. I bow first to all enlightened beings and to every warrior saint. Once I heard this teaching. The conqueror was staying on Vulture's Peak in the keep of the king. With him was a great gathering of monks and a great gathering of warrior saints. At a certain moment, the conqueror went into deep meditation on the part of the teaching known as the awareness of the profound. At that moment, too, did the realized being, the great warrior, the Lord of power, loving eyes, see into this one deep practice, the practice of the perfection of wisdom. And he saw perfectly that the 5 heaps, the 5 parts of a person, were empty of any nature of their own. And then, by the power of the enlightened one, the junior monk named Shariputra turned and asked this question of the great warrior, loving eyes, the realized one, the Lord of power. If any son or daughter of noble family hope to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom, what would they have to do? This then is the answer that the Lord of power, the realized one, the great warrior, loving eyes, gave to the junior monk named Shariputra. Here, Shariputra is what any son or daughter of noble family should see, who hopes to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom. See first, all 5 heaps, all 5 parts to a person, are empty of any essence of their own. Your body is empty. Emptiness is your body. Emptiness is nothing but your body, and your body is nothing but emptiness. The same is true of your feeling, your ability to discriminate between things, and all the other factors that make you up. and all the different kinds of awareness that you possess, all of them are empty. And thus we can say, Shariputra, that every existing thing is emptiness. Nothing has any characteristic of its own. No thing ever begins. No thing ever ends. No thing is ever impure. No thing is ever becomes pure. No thing ever gets less, and no thing ever becomes more. And thus we can say, Shariputra, that with emptiness there is no body, there are no feelings, there's no ability to discriminate, there are none of the other factors that make you up. And there is no awareness. There are no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing to smell, nothing to taste, nothing to touch, and nothing to think of. There is no part of you that sees. There is no part of you that is aware of what you see. And this is true all the way up to the part of you that thinks, and the part of you that is aware that you are thinking. There is no misunderstanding your world. There is no stopping this misunderstanding. And the same is true all the way up to your old age and your death, and to stopping your old age and your death. There is no suffering. There is no source of this suffering. There is no stopping this suffering. There is no path to stop this suffering. There is no knowledge. There is nothing to reach, and there is nothing not to reach. Thus it is, Shariputra, that warrior saints have nothing to reach. And because of this, they are able to practice the perfection of wisdom and stay in this perfection of wisdom. This frees them of every obstacle in their minds. This frees them from all fear. They go beyond all wrong ways of thinking and reach to the ultimate end of nirvana. All the enlightened beings of the past and present and the future too follow this same perfection of wisdom and thus bring themselves to perfect enlightenment, to the matchless state of a totally enlightened Buddha. Thus are they the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, the sacred words of great knowledge, sacred words of the unsurpassable, sacred words that are equal to the one beyond all equal, sacred words that put a final end to every form of pain, sacred words you should know are true, for false they cannot be, sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you. Dayata, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi swaha. And thus it is, Shariputra, that great warrior saints must train themselves in the profound perfection of wisdom. With this, the conqueror stirred himself from his deep state of meditation. He turned to the great warrior, to the realized one, loving eyes, the Lord of power, and blessed his words, saying, "True, true," he said, and true again. Thus it is, O son of noble family, just so is it. One should follow the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have taught it. Every one of those gone thus, rejoice in your words as I do. And when the conqueror had spoken thus, the junior monk Shariputra took joy, and the warrior, the realized one, loving eyes, the Lord of power, took joy as well. And all the assembled disciples took joy, and so did the entire world with its gods and its men and near gods and spirits too take joy. All sang their praises of what the conqueror had spoken. So I hope you're finding that when you hear the part of the sutra that we've talked about already, right, you relate to it more deeply. And then every time we hear it, right, we have another experience of it And then every time we hear a little bit more about it, our experience with it deepens. And then we'll finish class, and we'll go on to 16 million other, 84,000 other things. And I encourage you to not forget, right? Use your Heart Sutra from time to time. It can be a tool for clearing obstacles. It can be a tool for revamping our practice. It can be a tool. And I'm speaking to myself here, right? I forget to use it like that until somebody asks for something. But we'll see when we get to the end of it that it's talking about our complete practice from suffering human to fully enlightened being, which includes the ending of suffering of all beings, which we then help them actualize as well from our position of having applied the methods and changed ourselves, meaning me and my parts, meaning me and my experience, meaning me and my world. So it's like in Buddhism, like every teaching is complete. Here's another one, right? Complete teaching, if we can read between the lines, right? Read the meaning of the words. So we left off I know this printing is really small. I'm sorry. We had left off at the verse that was speaking to the fifth path, Miloblam, reaching our goal. So the Heart Sutra has, here it is. Let's do the Tibetan. So the commentaries show us that the Heart Sutra is a sutra that is encouraging us to move along our 5 paths. The first path being the path of accumulation, where we're accumulating our renunciation, meaning we've lived life long enough to see that nothing goes right. Even the things that seem like they're going right end up somehow dissatisfying. And then you die, right? Then the people you love die, and then you die. And it's just like, what's it all about? And at some point we have some kind of existential crisis, and we go looking, and my goodness, we all had the goodness to hear somebody describe the pen, and the goodness to hear it as something profound, right? Because not everybody does. So all of that is our path of accumulation, that you can also call our growing renunciation of whatever it is that's wrong with the way life works. And then that sets us on the path of first searching and then finding a path that we relate to, a path that makes sense, a path that we can logically show to ourselves must work. And at that level, we're at the beginning of the path of preparation, preparing to reach truth. And in this system, on the path of preparation, we are studying, contemplating, learning to meditate. Meditating meaning both on cushion and goal meditating in the sense of getting used to what we're learning. Like, it's one thing to learn stuff and not apply it to our own life. It's another to learn stuff and then try it on for size. So what we're learning, of course, in the path of preparation is the connection between what we think, say, and do towards other and what our experience is. And we say, yeah, of course, what I think, say, and do affects my experience because I put the key in the car and I turn it and the car starts. See, what I do makes stuff happen in the world. And of course, on this path of preparation, we're coming to see that, oh my gosh, that doesn't work every single time. And if it doesn't work every single time, there must be some other factor involved that makes it work when it works and makes it not work when it doesn't work. What's that other factor? And maybe we could figure it out ourselves. Or, right, we read or hear somebody say, you know what? What if it's like this? And they describe the process we're calling karma. And again, if we have the karmic goodness, we hear that and go, oh, wow, that explains it. And we're attracted enough to study more and to try it on for size. And so that points out that, yes, our behavior creates our experience, but not the one that comes in the next immediate moment. Our behavior influences our awareness, our mind, and that influence isn't going to just go away. And that influence itself is influenced by similar experiences. It's increased by similar and decreased by opposites, dissimilars. And that influence of all the seeds on all the seeds is this stream of me and my life, because 65 per instant, seeds are reaching the threshold into manifestation, and bing, 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 bing. That's me and my experience. So on path of preparation, we're intellectually getting used to that, and hopefully experientially getting used to that, so that we're working with our behavior to try to follow the morality that these teachings recommend, right? They don't prescribe. They say, if this is true about our behavior creates the future, and we can't connect the dot between them, it would take us a really long time to figure out for ourselves what behavior to do that will create a pleasant future. So why not consider the advice of someone who's been there, done that, and made the mistakes, and now is has reached that place where they can see the connection between what's done now and what comes in the future, because that being is perceiving all things in all times. So that being gives a list. Yeah, here's the 10 things to avoid like the plague. And then if we flip them around into the positive, these are the things to train ourselves to do. And if that's all we did, right, we would have a rich practice. And then it goes on to teaching other kinds of moralities to follow as well, all designed to help our path be easier for us. Why am I going there? That's all path of preparation. It's our different paths are not mutually exclusive. We are still on our path of accumulation as we're on our path of preparation. We're still growing our renunciation. It's getting more and more subtle what it is we are renunciating. Our path of preparation is leading us to our path of seeing, which is that direct experience of the truth of the fact that no thing has any nature of its own, which means anything must be dependent on something else. Which, like, that's not so profound. Of course, everything depends on something else. But the something else that we perceive directly at the end of path of preparation that pushes us into the path of seeing is that, oh my gosh, what everything depends upon is the ripening karmic seed coming from my own past behavior. And nothing other than that, which is the emptiness that we're pushed into after we see directly something coming out of that seed of our own making. So then into Tonglam, the path of seeing, where what we're seeing is directly the no self nature of oneself and all existing things. And although our path of accumulation, our path of preparation lasts lifetimes, maybe path of seeing, they tell us, lasts 10 to 30 minutes. And then its aftermath lasts the rest of that day until you go to bed. I don't know why you'd ever go to bed, but you must. And you end up on your path of habituation, that gomlam, where again, it's getting used to living according to what you now know. But you've been doing that already in your path of preparation. We're trying to live according to what we now intellectually know is true, karma and emptiness. But once we've experienced it directly, both the ripening and the known nature other than ripenings, now our behavior takes on a different imprinting flavor. So we are no longer replanting the misunderstanding that we're still replanting before seeing emptiness directly. So that's why it's the doorway to the end of all suffering, because all suffering at its root is this misunderstanding of the true nature, right, of self, other, and interaction between. So when we've had that direct perception of the true nature of those three things being their no self nature, okay, now that perception has had an influence on all the seeds that had the ignorance in them, because it's the direct opposite of that ignorance. It doesn't completely negate that, but it's cracked. It's cracked something from every seed that's in our foundation consciousness that itself is empty, but that's why we can have one. So our task then is to apply what we now know is true, but we're not seeing directly anymore, to living according to it, meaning making our choices of our behavior with that amazing wisdom in mind. Now, if we go into that direct perception of emptiness from a path of preparation that was training ourselves to reach nirvana, right? The end of all our own mental afflictions and seeds for more. with the belief or feeling like that's the highest thing that I can achieve, then our path of seeing has that effect on our mind and all our seeds. And the conveyor belt that we're on is the conveyor belt to nirvana. If in our path of preparation, we are also preparing our mind, heart for being able to become one who can help others become ones who can help others become ones, right? I can't stop saying it. Wanting to become a Buddha so that we can know really how to help others stop their suffering. If we have that wish in our mind during our Tonglam, our path of seeing experience, that experience's imprint on our mind puts us on this conveyor belt beyond nirvana all the way to the omniscience that characterizes Buddhahood versus nirvana. So that we hear it as seeing emptiness with a mind imbued with bodhicitta. And it's not that while you're in the direct perception of emptiness, you're thinking, I'm doing this in order to become a Buddha, to help all beings become Buddhas too, because you can't have a thought in your direct perception of emptiness as we understand. But the experiencer going into and coming out of that experience, if the experiencer has imbued their mind, like what that really means, you got to figure out. If it's become a part of you, this wish, then it's still a part of you. The wind is so bad, there's things blowing around outside. I can hear them making noise. That influence is still influencing us going into and coming out of direct perception of emptiness. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is that for a Mahayana practitioner, that state of mind of bodhicitta, state of heart of bodhicitta, is what makes the difference in our 5 paths between reaching nirvana and reaching Buddhahood. And there really isn't anything different we have to do, except, I mean, in terms of what behavior we're choosing, the behaviors are the same. It's the state of mind that we have as we're doing those behaviors that is different from a non-Mahayanist and a Mahayanist. So our task as aspiring Buddhas is to grow this sense that we mean by the word bodhicitta. I want to become a fully enlightened being so that I can help everybody stop their suffering completely. You know, whether that being wants to reach nirvana or Buddhahood, that's up to them. But I'm going to help them get there. So our task as a Heart Sutra studier and user is to be cultivating this state of heart that we mean by bodhicitta. So we're trying to load that word so that you don't have to be using the whole phrase, I'm washing the dishes so I can reach total Buddhahood to stop the suffering of all beings. That's cumbersome. I'm washing the dishes because of bodhicitta, with bodhicitta, 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 bodhicitta. You know, and if we can keep that rattling around in us, it's included in the imprint that we're making as we're washing the dishes. And it turns washing the dishes into a direct cause for Buddhahood. And it's like, really, if we can do it, it would be so simple, wouldn't it? Because if we've got this bodhicitta sense rattling around, how unkind can you be to somebody with bodhicitta in your heart, right? I'm about to say something nasty. If I've got bodhicitta rattling around in there, I'm going to choke on that nasty word, aren't I? So, like, our task, says Heart Sutra, is to train ourselves, practice, try, find reminders, anything you can to remind yourself as you're doing things. I'm doing this because of karma and emptiness. I'm doing this because there's suffering in the world. I'm doing this to stop all that suffering. Find something that inspires you, some way of saying it that inspires you, right? Heart Sutra is pointing this out to us. So, path of habituation is where we're just doing math, burning off the seeds that were stained with our selfishness and planting seeds with wisdom. There'll be a last one. There'll be a last seed of selfishness that ripens and burns off and nirvana. And still there are the obstacles to omniscience, so there's still a little stuff to do. I'm not so clear on exactly how you do that. And eventually there'll be the last obstacle to omniscience that is somehow cleared out. And then the next experience is Buddha you and Buddha paradise emanating, right? It's like, apparently you get paradise for a fraction of an instant and then emanations happen. I don't quite understand that either. So that's the fifth path. And I don't remember what class it was in, but I remember hearing myself say, I'm not sure where on 10th Bodhisattva Bhumi you actually reach Milo Blanc, your path of no more learning. If it's the beginning of Bodhisattva Bhumi 10, or if you're doing something still on Bhumi 10 and it's by the end you reach it. I wasn't clear. But our Wednesday study group is reading Illumination of True Thought. And in there, they quoted something that I don't remember, I'm so sorry, but an authentic text that said, you actually reach, when you reach Buddhahood, you are on 11th Bodhisattva Bhumi. So, there's something happening on Bhumi 10. And when you complete it, that's Milo Blanc. So that's where we are in the sutra, is in the verse where Lord Buddha via Avalokiteshvara is talking about how the Bodhisattva who has seen their emptiness directly with bodhicitta in their heart, came out of it and has been applying themselves to change, to do their kindness behaviors now imbued with this mind of bodhicitta. And they're making their progress and they're reaching their goal. So we started into it with last class, and there's a little bit of it that I went by too fast. So I want to go back and cover it again, and then we'll get into the sacred words. So, Sharipude Tawana, Changchub Sempanam Topa, Mebe Chir, Sharab Kiparo Tu Chimpa, La Tene Nete, Semla Dripa, Mepe Jikpa Mede, Chinchi Lokle, Shintu Denye, Nyang Genle, Depe Tar Chanto. Meaning, thus it is, Shariputra, that warrior saints have nothing to reach, And because of this, they are able to practice the perfection of wisdom and stay in this perfection of wisdom. This frees them of every obstacle in their minds. This frees them from all fear. They go beyond all wrong ways of thinking and reach to the ultimate end of nirvana. So, warrior saints have nothing to reach. But wait, they're not Buddhas yet. They do have something to reach. But is their Buddhahood a something that already exists? No, not for them. When they reach it, will it be something that suddenly exists independent of their ripening karmic seeds, not called karma by then, their ripening mental imprints? Will their Buddhahood be a thing that they finally reach that is done with projections? No. So do they have something to reach? Yes, they have their omniscience to reach. But is that omniscience a thing in it, from it, a quality in it, from it, that you somehow finally get to take on? No, it's still the process of behavior making imprints and those imprints ripening. What the warrior saints have to reach is still a shift in their projection. They still have something pure, more pure to create. But they call it nothing to reach because it's nothing to reach from its own side. Yeah. Then, because of that, because their Buddhahood has no nature of its own, they're able to reach it. Because their wisdom has no nature of its own, they are able to sustain it and grow it into their perception of themselves as Buddha them and Buddha paradise emanating, omniscient, perceiving emptiness and appearing reality simultaneously and all three times, because time is part of the projection. So of course it's not going to be limited. So because their Buddhahood has no nature of its own, they are able to practice the perfection of wisdom and stay in this perfection of wisdom. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit more. So to practice the perfection of wisdom means doing our day-to-day kindness behaviors, avoiding our day-to-day unkind behaviors, and doing both with this heart imbued with the wish. So we've heard perfection of wisdom is code for direct perception of emptiness. Practicing the perfection of wisdom, we might think means, oh, after you've seen emptiness directly, you would go back into meditation and pretend you're doing it again, because you don't just go back into it, right, every time you sit down. But that's not what practicing the perfection of wisdom means here. It means having that, what you now know to be true, and your motivation underneath it in mind as you do your acts of giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, having a good time doing those things as you're meditating. Even I'm meditating because of bodhicitta, with bodhicitta, because of bodhicitta. And even any intellectual thinking about emptiness, still imbued with this wish, I'm doing it all to reach my Buddhahood. as an Arya, you're already so much closer than you were before your 30-minute experience. In that 30-minute experience, they tell us you met your own future Buddha you. Like, don't think of it in terms of like a hallucination or a dream, but some kind of knowing. And you know how long it's going to take you to get there, and you know what you have to do to bring it about. Like a conviction, right? You have this conviction that until then we don't really have. We have a logical, intellectual conviction that we're on the right path, but like getting on the bicycle and really riding it for the first time, you don't really know what it's like until we've done it. So same with this conviction that you're on the conveyor belt to your Buddhahood because of that experience, right? It's not, can you feel the difference between pre path of seeing and after path of seeing? So, but it isn't, the seeds aren't automatically pushing you to have bodhicitta, foremost in your mind constantly. You still have to think about that. You still have to cultivate it a bit. I understand, I believe. And so the practice of the perfection of wisdom on your path of habituation is to intentionally recall and use what you now know to be true as you are driving to the grocery store, as you are having that conversation with your friend, as you're doing stuff, right? Even the minimal, I'm not out serving people in my community. I'm just cleaning my kitchen. I'm just making my bed. I'm just studying my notes. All of that. It doesn't matter, right? The apparent significance of what you're doing. What matters is the state of heart with which we are doing whatever we are doing. And when we're doing anything with bodhicitta, the significance of that deed is beyond the biggest we could do in human form with a human mind. Yeah. So practicing the perfection of wisdom. As we're doing that, what it means is that the seeds that are ripening, that are still experiencing things, have their natures in them. That jerk driver is in them, from them. But because of your practice of the perfection of wisdom, you're catching yourself. It's like, no, right? My seed's ripening. And so, right? And so my response will be, may they be safe, may they, right? Is that what you can even apply your 4 immeasurables? May they be free from suffering. May they have love. Right? You can, whatever your tool is for shifting from the automatic reaction to the practice of the perfection of wisdom, which for a bodhisattva is love, compassion, wisdom, understanding, emptiness, and karma. So for some period of time, we're making this conscious effort to apply what we now know to be true to our behavior choices. And that's practicing the perfection of wisdom. Then it says they come to stay in this perfection of wisdom, which this is telling us what happens as we reach Miloblam, the no more learning, is that at some point it's no longer taking effort to apply our bodhicitta, right? Our seeds, our cracked seeds of ignorance are getting more and more cracked up as we go along our path of habituation. And as we as we apply ourselves, the seeds that are ripening as seeing things as in them, from them still, they're getting less and less strong because every time we negate them, all of the ones that are left behind are getting negated a little bit too. So it's just occurring to me now why they say the obstacles of to omniscience are like dust, some kind of dust from the ignorance. If you think of these little seeds, right, their ignorance factor is getting crack, 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 crack by your wisdom. Pretty soon, all it's going to be is like ineffective dust in that mind stream. But that ineffective dust, meaning it can't ripen into a full-on seeing things as self-existent, but it is somehow blocking our mind's ability to perceive itself as omniscient. And so that dust has to be cleared out as well. When the dust is cleared out, the dust remnants from having seen things as self-existent, when that's all cleared out, that's what it is to stay in the perfection of wisdom. You're staying in the direct perception of the no self nature of all existing things and the dependently originating nature of all existing things simultaneously. And that's what it is to be omniscient. Even at nirvana, when you are no longer perceiving things as self-existent, you are not at the same time perceiving directly the no self nature of the subject object interaction between. You can toggle between, but you can't see them both at the same time. Omniscience perceives them both at the same time. Like intellectually, I can't grasp what that would be like. The ramification of it, however, is that that Buddha, you will then be experiencing directly, excuse me, what all those appearing beings need to give up and take up to stop their suffering. Like we kind of have to work that one out, how it is that omniscience reveals that. And that's the point of omniscience. Like who cares about knowing everything in the encyclopedia, right? What we want to know is exactly what does that particular being need to become aware of. And how amazing to then be the being who loves so much that you're a part of you, your emanation, is that for that person. So maybe it's the puppy that wanders up to the unhappy child. Lovely. Maybe it's the yelling wife, right? That the husband needs in order to wake up in some way, right? Your emanations are being what any being needs, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant for the being, because that love is so strong. So Geshe said, to practice the perfection of wisdom, you keep saying over and over and over as you're doing anything for anybody, I'm doing this to reach that total bliss so that I can bring everybody to their Buddhahood. And I personally don't really relate to that word bliss because it just sounds so self-involved to me. My bliss, I want my bliss. And as I worked with it over the years, because like it's all over the place, bliss this, bliss that, I finally came to recognize with Lama Christie's help that what they mean by bliss is love, but not love like we think of human love, but a Buddha's love, right? Love meaning I want your happiness. Not meaning I don't want to take it from you. I want to be the agent of your ultimate happiness. And I'll do anything I need to do to be the agent of your ultimate happiness. Love, that's bliss. That's what they mean by bliss. Not personal ecstasy, but love, this big love. So what if our practice of the perfection of wisdom is, I want to love so big that everybody gets infected with it. If everybody has that kind of love for the bug, the gnat, the neighbor, regardless, our world would change fast. So staying in the perfection of wisdom is reaching this state where we're perceiving emptiness and dependent origination simultaneously, which means we're seeing directly the mistakes that beings are making that are just unnecessary, just driven by a misunderstanding of where happiness comes from. And if they just quit making that mistake, right, they would change so fast. Imagine that state of heart, right? It's just to see, like you see your 4-year-old child pounding their big toe with a hammer and wailing, "Mom, my toe hurts, my toe hurts, my toe hurts." And your love goes, "Honey, let me have the hammer," right? And you just take it from them and you kiss their boo-boo and they get better. Like that, to stay in the perfection of wisdom. In that staying in the perfection of wisdom, we are freed from all fear. Meaning all mental afflictions, because of course, in the direct perception, when we reach Buddhahood, of course, we're free of all fear. Of course, we're free of every obstacle. But in the process of getting to Buddhahood, we are freeing ourselves from all fear. So fear means the mental afflictions and the seeds for more, which is what we're working on in our path of habituation by not reacting in the same old way. And what I wanted to go through in this class was Lord Maitreya's 6 steps, but I'm already, at the end of our first hour. Doggone it anyway. We get free of all mental afflictions by being in the situations where they arise and refusing to act on them. And because of our practice of the perfection of wisdom, we choose a more kind response. We burn off that series of seeds. We replant something kinder, colored with wisdom. Eventually, no more mental afflictions, still have obstacles to omniscience. And so we continue practicing our perfection of wisdom until all those obstacles to omniscience are cleaned as well. And so as a result, as your Buddha you will be beyond all wrong ways of thinking. There'll be no more seeds that force you to experience anything as coming as in it from it. Not other, not self, not experience. And one reaches the ultimate end of nirvana. So we know nirvana means to, blow out, to get beyond grief. That's what it is, to go beyond all fear. The ultimate end of nirvana means that you don't stay in that place of being a being who's experienced things coming out of your seeds, but not omniscient, right? So it's not that you lose your nirvana as you reach Milo Blum, your Buddhahood, Milo Blum. It's that you take your nirvana further and add omniscience to it. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let me have a little bit more before we take our break, please. Du sum du nampar shukpe sange tamche. Sange tamche is all the Buddhas. Kyang sherab ki paro tu chimpa la ten te lana mepa. Yang dakpar zokpe changchup nupar zokpar sange. So all enlightened beings of the past, present, and future, to follow the same perfection of wisdom and thus bring themselves to perfect enlightenment, to the matchless state of a totally enlightened Buddha. I remember talking about this last class. The English sounds funny. How can an enlightened being of the future who's not even enlightened being yet follow this same perfection of wisdom if they haven't even reached Tonglam yet? But the point is, says Choni Lama, is those who've already reached it did it this way. Those who are in the process of reaching it are doing it this way. And those who have not reached it yet, whether they know it or not, will do it this way. Right? Because this is the mental imprints that create this state of mind of being, the state of experience of being ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, ripening and replanting and ripening and replanting. And it really doesn't matter whether you are Buddhist or, your path doesn't matter. It's the process that will happen. Okay, let's take a break. We'll do a little bit more sutra with the sacred words and then do our meditation. Okay, so I'm going to stop share so I can pause the recording. That's for the recording. My screen share back. Okay. Geshe says probably the most important thing that we go beyond during our path of habituation to our Buddhahood is going beyond the habit, the impulse of blaming the other for what we're experiencing. Whether it's the yelling boss is the cause of this anger or discomfort that I'm feeling, I should yell back, I should lie, I should cry, I should run away, right? Whatever our habitual reaction is, it starts with this blame factor. In them, from them, my discomfort coming from them. Same with the pleasure, right? Triple berry pie. Its pleasure is in it, from it. It's my favorite, so David should leave the last piece for me. Yeah, and it's this blame, I like to call it the blame factor. And I feel it harsh and I use it on myself on purpose. Who are you blaming here? Mr. Karma is in charge. Blame Mr. Karma. And then that means, oh, then how I respond, right, is how I feed Mr. Karma. Okay. So next in the sutra comes Detavana. Thus, Sharab Kiparo tu chimpe knock. So here's the key word, knock. See, it's repeated, knock, knock, knock. It means sacred words. So sacred words usually means mantra. So thus are these the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom. Sharab ki paro tu chimpe nak. Rikpa chempe nak. Rikpa chempe means unsurpassable. Lana mepe nak. Lana mepe means equal to the one beyond all equal. I don't know how that evolves. Mi nyampa dong nyampe nak means words that put a final end to every form of pain. No, I got ahead of myself. That's this one. Mi nyampa dong nyampe nak. Sorry, my notes are mixed up. Let me come back to that. Dunyal tamche rabtu shiwar jepe nak. Words that put a final end to all pain. Dunyal tamche. Mi zumpe na. Dampar shepar jate. Sacred words that we should know, can know are true, for false they cannot be. That's a little slippery. Sharab kiparo tu chimpe nak mepa. Sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you, I give for you, nak mepa, apparently. So altogether, thus are they the sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, the sacred words of great knowledge, sacred words of the unsurpassable, sacred words that are equal to the one beyond all equal, sacred words that put a final end to every form of pain. Sacred words you should know are true, for false they cannot be. Sacred words of the perfection of wisdom, which here I speak for you. So we need to talk about how can words be sacred. But first, let me give you the lung of the mantra. I don't remember if I did it before, but in case I didn't, please repeat after me. Tayata, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi swaha. Again, tayata, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi swaha. One more time. Tayata, gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi swaha. Tayata means this is the way it is. Gate means gone. Gone, gone. Paragate means gone to the other side, like paramita. Parasangate means gone all the way to the other side. Bodhi means Buddha. Swaha means may it be so, like done. So the literal meaning is this is the way it is. You know, gone, go, get going. Get going, get going. Gate, gate. Get going across to the other shore. In fact, go all the way to the other shore. Buddhahood, to Buddhahood. So that all the way means beyond nirvana to Buddhahood. Swaha. Done, do it. But how can words, like we've learned in Diamond Cutter Sutra and others that the words themselves have no nature of their own. They have no meaning inside them. So does it mean a mantra is useless? See, off the cliff we go. No, because they have no nature of their own. They can be ordinary. They could be harsh, unpleasant. They could be pleasant. They could be meaningful. They could be sacred. According to the seed ripening of the one who's hearing them, who's using them. So we've learned that what makes a mantra is that the one who spoke it for us to be used as a mantra was a holy being. Like, according to whom? Them? Us? Somebody else? Ask yourself. And then the being using the mantra for whatever they're using it for is themselves someone who's keeping their morality. And when you think about it, it's like, well, of course that would have to be true, because keeping our morality means we're making kindness seeds to bring pleasant results for us and everybody in order to reach our Buddhahood, for everybody's benefit. And so if we are growing our goodness seeds, and then we're using these sounds made into words for an intentional result of helping everybody get free of their suffering, then those words can actually gain some power by way of our use. Probably we've used them before, previous lifetimes or something similar. As we keep our morality, the power of these words that we see as sacred because of how they came to us, they can in fact imbue our speech with this power, but not because there's anything in them from them. And yet, that said, when we vibrate the sounds, particularly when those sounds are Sanskrit sounds, that experience of those seeds ripening, we're hearing ourselves do it so that we're planting at the same time. And those vibrations are both coming out of our energy bodies and influencing our energy bodies. So when we use mantra, whether they're secret mantra or open mantra, in the process of doing so, we are affecting the winds that make up our spiritual bodies. Our spiritual bodies are made of wind and mind. Wind is vibration, it's movement. So when we're using what we've imprinted as sacred words with bodhicitta in mind, we are vibrating our subtle body in a very specific way that we wouldn't otherwise do, whether it's a secret mantra or an open mantra. So there's something going on subtly inside as we tayata gate gate paragate parasangate bodhiswaha. So now I just want to point out that sometimes you'll see this Heart Sutra mantra where it says tayata om gate gate, or even om tayata gate gate. And om is is typically what's called the head of a mantra. Mantras have heads and tails and bodies in between. And so usually there's an om in there. Om means om, Geshe Michael always says, but it means body, speech, mind of a Buddha. So if you've seen it or you've learned it as om gate gate, that's fine to add the om. Apparently in this version of the sutra, it's not included. All right, I want to stop there. We'll pick up the sacred words again. Last class, so we have one more class that we need to do sacred words, the confirmation of the teaching, and then the rejoicing wrap up. But we need to do our meditation. So I'm going to mark myself here. Gate. I'll do it like that. All right. So do what you need to do to get ready to meditate until the end of class. So about 40 minutes of sit. Okay, so get yourself settled in your seat, wherever you are. Let that physical body relax into it. So your weight's on your sits bones. Scan from above, down, inviting any tension to release. Letting that body balance. Face relaxed, shoulders relaxed, hands relaxed. Legs, feet relaxed. And go inside and feel that energy of the body then rising, lifting you, not out of you, but just lifting. So that your tummy pulls in a little bit, your sternum rises a little bit, your crown rises a little bit. Your attention brightens. And then bring that attention to your breath. With every out breath, the physical body relaxes a little bit more. And with every in breath, the mind brightens a little bit more eager, interested. And we call that precious holy being, a being made of love, compassion, and wisdom. Feel your aspiration to become like them. Recall too that person that you know who's hurting. And feel your deep wish to be able to help them in that ultimate way. Recall your understanding of karma and emptiness. And take your refuge then in that understanding that through our own behavior, we can become a being who can help that other learn how to stop their distress forever. Feel your determination to try. And turn your mind back to your precious holy being and ask them again to help you. Tell them of something you admire about them. Tell them of your gratitude to them, what they've taught you so far. And make them an offering, something from your practice. See how happy they are to see and hear you experiencing yourself offer to them something from your practice. And you feel so safe with them that you confess something, clear some negative thought, word, or deed from your heart. No guilt, no shame, just regret. Mistaken habit, I did it again. Establish your antidote. It could be this class, this meditation. And establish a power of restraint. Then share with them a rejoiceable. Tell them another kindness that you saw yourself think, do, or say recently. And tell them of one you saw someone else do. Those are your seeds too. And ask them again to stay close. Ask them to continue to bring you teachings, both formal ones and the informal ones that we experience through our daily interactions with others. Pray that the beings who uplift you and help you stay close and live long and happy lives. And dedicate the goodness of what we've just done here to gaining deeper insight in your Kedrubje meditation, so that you can become a being made of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And then if you need to shift and wiggle, you can do it now. If you don't need to, you don't have to. You come back to your breath. And then we'll begin Kedrubje's meditation. We're still using our heap of form, meaning our physical world, in our exploration. So again, either eyes open or eyes closed, scan your room for those different things that are in it. So you have a clear mental picture. And step one is to experience those outer objects as if you were an infant. No stories, no identities, just sensory information, a curious state of mind. Just stuff there. Now land on any one of them. Let your mind focus on it. And at step 2, include in your experience of it your feeling, your belief that its identity is in it. And if its identity is in it, its quality of being pleasant or not pleasant, important to you or not important to you, valuable, beautiful. Let yourself experience the object and its qualities and even its function, and show yourself your belief that that's all in the object. Even tell yourself why our ordinary mind believes that's true. Well, because I bought it from the store, I remember doing so. It's here in the same place every time I look at it. I can reach out and touch it. Somebody could steal it from me. I could break it. All those reasonings that prove to ourselves that we're right about that object's existence, in it, from it. Of course it's there when we leave the room. We are identifying our ignorance. Try to get it really clear. Recognize that because of this belief about things, we argue, we disagree with those who don't see it the same way, treat it the same way. Now intentionally push the button on Kedrobje step 3. Apply your understanding of dependent origination. At one level, oh, that thing has its own causes and conditions. Its own parts make it up so it can have its identity in it. But keep looking for the object's actual dependent origination. Your experience of it Does anyone experience it in the same way you do? Can anyone experience it in the same way you do? No, it has to be something you are bringing to the party for that object to be what it is for you, to have the qualities that it has for you. Show yourself logically that that object depends upon your own experience of it to be what it is for you. Impose your understanding, ripening result of past seed planted. If it's an object you like, it's a result of some past kindness. If it's an object that seems to give displeasure, it's a result of some past harm. Move to another object, and as you do, pretend that you can see your own mental seeds ripening into it as it comes into mental view. The object, its identity, its qualities, and your reaction to it. Then try another object. Now switch back down to level 2, the belief the object's identity is coming from it. And go to another object. And then take away that ignorance and put on the seed ripening identity. Now let's go to step 4. Go back to your original object. Experience it ignorance way, in it, from it. Show yourself that if that's true, every being, even the fly, would experience it just the same way as you do. And that does not seem to be the case. Remove that object that's in it from it. What do you have left? It's slippery. Do it again. Object in it, from it. Not possible. What is there? The object from me. My seeds forcing me to see that object in that way. Level 3. Level 4. Show yourself that object that's not coming from you. You glimpse an absence of something that we thought was there. Go back again to the object coming from your seeds. There it is. Solid. Beautiful or not. Seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening. Show yourself an object that's there, independent of seeds ripening. No such thing. Again to another object. There is an object there. Show yourself it's no self nature, level 4. Go to another. Now on your own, go up and down those 3 different experiences. First, the ignorance, the belief that the object is there from its own side. And show yourself the impossibility of that. Show yourself the objects dependence upon your perception of it. And then show yourself there's no object other than that. Go through it one more time with another object, something you particularly like. Come to the conclusion that if there's any object that I like, it has to be a result of some past kindness bringing me this pleasurable result. And so I see the advantage of being kind no matter what. Simply for the selfish reason that I want a pleasant future. Everyone wants a pleasant future. For me to be kind, no matter what, brings someone a little pleasure, I hope, in the moment, and will bring more pleasure to everyone in the future, I hope. That can only be true if it's true that every experience is a ripening result of my own past awareness of how I have interacted with other subject, object, interaction between. And in fact, anything could be anything at any moment, according to how mental imprints are ripening. And that too leads to the conclusion of wanting to be kind no matter what. not because someone said so, but because we see the power of that for creating the changes in our world. So bring your attention back to that precious holy being who's there with you. See how happy they are with your effort. Recall that person you wanted to be able to help at the beginning. Recognize that we have set into motion that helping them stop their suffering someday. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. Think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hand. Feel your gratitude to your holy being, your devotion to them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it, and they carry it with them back into your heart. See them there, feel them there, their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the true ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with happiness, filled with the wisdom of loving kindness. And may it be so. All right. So thank you again for the opportunity. How's that meditation going? Are you getting the gist of it? You know, there's no like specific way to do it. We're identifying our ignorance. We're identifying dependent origination, impose it, but use logic. And then we're taking them away. You can reach the no self nature from taking away your ignorance or from taking away dependent origination. What actually goes away? Nothing, does it? When you take away your ignorance, like you're looking at a lamp, a table lamp that's in it from it, and you take it away, does the lamp disappear? No, because it was never self-existent to begin with. Something else goes away. That drove me nuts in my retreats. What goes away? How do I stop doing something that I'm not doing? Right? It's like so difficult. Then dependent origination, okay. That one's a little better, right? If we could really stop the seeds ripening, would the lamp disappear? Slippery, right? Yeah, it would. And if you track this down, you'll see your mind track through the different levels of understanding, dependent origination and emptiness. Because it'll go, no, there's something there with parts. It just needs my label. And it's like, well, wait a minute, which part? This one or that one? No, but it had its own causes, right? Somebody had to make it. But the lamp that's there is my unique experience, but the lamp is there. Mind only school. Do you see? You'll find it. when you investigate what's there when you take your seeds away. And then when you put on the emptiness, you need an object to be empty of self-nature in order to know its emptiness. So can the lamp go away when you say, look for the lamp that's there without my seeds ripening? You know, there is no such lamp, but then there's no emptiness of that lamp either, because you need the lamp for the emptiness. So yes, it seems like, okay, pull it away, rest in the absence, but it's not really a physical absence. It's not a mental absence. It's the absence, right? The no self nature of whatever you were talking about. It's not something we see. Even in our mind's eye, it's not something we see, but it's something we experience. An absence that's there in the presence of a presence. And that's where this 4-step process will take us if we keep with it. And we've only been doing the heap of form by way of outer physical objects in our mind's eye. But what you would do with this is use all 5 heaps, go through the different heaps. You know, and you can do the same thing with feeling, thumbs up, thumbs down. Get in that space where you're experiencing your feeling, and then check it, the one that's there in it, from it. Right? It's slippery. It's harder to do. You have to be really familiar with the steps with something tangible before we can do it with feeling. And then with discriminating between things, telling 2 things apart, right? To catch that process in our meditation and see how, no, I can tell 2 things apart because they're in them, from them. No, from me, right? And nothing but. And then go to all the other factors that make you up. There's where it's rich, because that's all our emotions, right? Angry, yelling boss, I'm angry, they're blaming me, they shouldn't blame me. That whole process, we can do the same 4-step process and, you know, learn, catch ourselves in that blame factor so that we can stop doing it. And then you can take it all the way to all the different kinds of awareness that you possess, which is what we learn in the Maha Mudra meditation training, learning to meditate on our own awareness of our eye, ear, so forth. It's starting next Tuesday morning. But you can do the same thing with Kedrup J's meditation. So this really could be a whole lifetime's career practice if one wanted to use it that way. Okay, so thank you for the opportunity. We have one more class next Tuesday, and then we'll be off. And then this group time frame will start ACI 7, the Bodhisattva vows. If you haven't told me yet that you want to be involved in that, please let me know. I'm starting the list now. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. I'm stopping the recording. Yes, yes.